All right, y'all. The title of today's show is Don't Waste a Failure. Okay? Don't waste a failure. And a lot of people might be like, what does he mean, don't waste a failure? That's the title of today's show. I've heard, at times I watch, I like watching and listening to high level coaches, high level athletes, high level soldiers, high level leaders in the military. I like listening to them speak because, you know, functioning on that high a level, it, there's no fluff. That everything said when you're trying to communicate stuff to, your soldiers or your athletes or whatever, um, it's all high performance. It's all boiled down to the essence, no fluff, um, and it's just Because why? In athletics, especially pro level athletics, the stakes are high. Um, Out there on the battlefield in the military, the stakes are the highest. The stakes are as high as they can get. Okay? It's your life. One mistake is permanent. It has to be excellence of execution. Um, that's why, you know, even, I mean, look, in no way am I on the level of a frontline high level, soldier. You go in the military in the different branches. There's a lot. Like in Air Force, you had jobs that weren't so critical that they would give to people. Where you could mess up and you know people could figure out a way around if you were a mess up. So they would put people in those positions, but then you had kind of high level, more frontline positions. The highest level, most frontline position in the Air Force, or one of the main ones, would be a pilot. You know, there was basically no room for error there. Um, Also, I would say second to that, aircraft mechanics. That's what I was. Where you literally, and this is just my experience, man. You There's the way I am, and then a switch had to be hit that would bring me into. It's like you had to click into excellence mode where you couldn't make mistakes. And a lot of people I talk to, man, they don't believe this. Like they think, hey, uh, nobody's perfect. I agree, nobody's perfect, but there are times where you have to be perfect. Yeah, I get it. You can't be perfect all the time, but in life, there are times you have to be perfect. Okay? And you have to function in 100% excellence. And one of these areas, again, on a worldly level, one of those levels was, on my job. This is where I learned this stuff at is, hey, certain things I couldn't get. Like they sign you off so you're qualified on stuff, and you have to be in the Air Force and aircraft maintenance. You you have to constantly be progressing in your training. Okay, you have to be constantly getting signed off. They give you this big folder, um, your training records. I forget what it's called, what the form is called, but you have your training records, and you have to constantly be getting signed off on stuff, and they check them every so often, maybe every quarter or something like that, or once or twice a year, to see if you're progressing in your training. Um, and it's just like anything else, just like this title. You don't want to waste a good failure. You're getting taught stuff. You got to learn it, and you know um, you're not going to get signed off on it till you can do it with excellence. Okay, and for 20 years or more, that's what I did. Um, and I took that, I used that just in my personal life and learning how to work on things, work with my hands, particularly on cars. But then it's 100% applicable to the spiritual too, you know. And the thing is, here's the key: in the military, you know why I was, you know, doing that, getting my and trust. I wanted to. I wanted to be there. I wanted to get my record signed off. I wanted to um, uh, be an aircraft mechanic. Wanted to move up, get promoted. Early in my career, I didn't want to do it like I needed to. Like if I was back in there now, it'd be on a whole nother level, man. I really would have went higher, because even going through there, I learned a lot about myself, a lot of errors I made. But I did want to be an aircraft mechanic. I enjoyed it, all that stuff like that. Same thing with the automotive. I wanted to learn about cars. I enjoyed learning about it. Um, and then spiritual development. Okay, my spiritual development. I want to learn. I want to work my salvation out with fear and with trembling. I want to work it out. Not not out of not just out of fear and, oh, this is what y'all said, but I understand that the Most High's way is the way in life. You know what I mean? It's He's laid out a way. Whether I feel good about it or not, it works, and it's the righteous way. It's the truth. And it's like having a father, and you know your father. You trust your father. You know he got your best interest. So he could tell you something, and you're gonna believe it. And you're gonna push yourself to do it. One of the things my father did, is you know he showed me. He pushed it the best, and this is the best way I could explain it. He he showed me that my limits weren't what I thought they were. They were actually, I could do more. When I'd fall and cut myself, boy, stop crying. It was like, but it hurts. It's like, what, you a baby? Stop crying. And then I was like, wow, I can stop crying. I don't have to cry. He just exposed me to stuff to show me, hey, to help expand my world. And that the Father, our Father in heaven, does the same thing with us spiritually. You know what I'm saying? Um, he pushes us, but we can't run from failure. Like, the key ingredient to success is failure, and like, people wrestle with this thing, man. And I I need to speak on it more, because people have a unhealthy relationship with failure. And like I was talking about earlier, I like listening to a lot of high level military people talk. I like listening to a lot of high level athletes talk, because they get it. They've been at that level. I haven't. I'm trying to get there. You know what I mean? I've had, like I said, some exposure to understand where they're coming from and what I did in the military and in my life, but I want to operate on that high level. And one of the uh, one of the things I heard them say is fail forward. I heard that in something I was listening to. It said you have to fail forward. And some of the athletes say, man, you got to fail as fast as possible. Fail quick. Make a lot of mistakes, but don't waste them. Learn from them. And I watch a lot of brothers and a lot of sisters, a lot of people I run across who are stagnant, who I haven't seen grow and develop in their life. The stagnation is they have an unhealthy relationship with failure. They think failure is something that makes them look bad. They think failure is something that just hurts. It's something to be avoided. You understand what I'm saying? And couldn't be further from the truth. The lessons are in failure. You know? So, like me, where I'm at, I'm there's this thing, the hero's journey. I forget the dude who wrote that thing. But anyway, they talk about the hero's journey. And it's basically, they said it's written in the most movie scripts. But the way it goes is, the person's young, innocent, and then a challenge is presented, and they realize they got to go on an adventure by themselves, and then they come back from the adventure, and they've grown and developed basically into a man, and then they become the leader of men. And it's funny because I've read about this at the age of 26 when I embarked on this journey, and it said, this is something else I was reading. It was saying how the way men's lives go, young men's lives who don't fully have, fully have identity. This is the way they said it goes. The way it goes is, you start off on a as how's that go? You start off, you come to a fork in the road, basically, okay? And you men, you women too, because I know a bunch of I know sisters that I've talked to about this. If there's an age in your 20s. They say this happens to most men and women in their 20s. There's a point where you come to a fork in the road in your life, and you can make a decision. You can make a decision to either go down the path you've been going down, or you can make a choice to go down the path you know you need to go down. And there's going to be challenges there. It's going to be difficulties. It's going to be all that. So you can make a choice to go down that path. And you go down that path, you know it's going to be difficult, but you know you need to go down that path. So you make the choice to go down that path, and you go down it, and just as sure as you know, it is met with challenges, with difficulties, and stuff like that. And through those challenges, difficulties, you grow and you cultivate yourself into the man or woman you need to be. And you go down that path, and then the next thing you know, you come back and you become like a counselor, a person people can go to ask questions, and then you become the leader of men or the leader of women. And it's like that's the path. And the way it goes, and I could tell, especially I tell men this all the time. There's a brother here in our assembly. Um, he became a part of this assembly earlier this year, and that brother was shaking and moving. I was telling him, um, I said, right now you're alone, and you have time to work on yourself, spend all the time you want with the Most High, go down this path, cultivate and perfect yourself. But I was like, soon after that, you're going to become a leader. You're going to be leading a family, and then right after that, next thing you know, you're the leader of men. Men are looking to you. You know what I'm saying? So that's how it is, man. When you go on that journey, I'm gonna do a show on that. I'm gonna do a show on that whole thing. I'm gonna find it so I can read it, and it'll you'll see it, and you'll probably, a lot of y'all will see that in your life where you went that way. But moving back to what I was saying, yeah, you get on this, you learn this thing, you cultivate a healthy, righteous, masculine or feminine, biblically masculine or biblically feminine relationship with failure, and not a childish relationship with failure. We mean childish relationship with failure. What I say is the boy must die so the man can live. And boy thinking is or girl thinking or child thinking when it comes to failure is, I gotta hide it, I gotta run from it, it's painful, it's something that I gotta avoid at all costs, is any failure, or I gotta cover it up, or whatever. That's an unhealthy relationship with failure. With me, I fail forward. I'm very transparent on this show with my failures. And I fail. Even today, I fail. Even yesterday. Even this morning, I be failing. But I'm aware of the failure. I'm not avoiding it. I'm looking at it. I'm facing it. See, there's a Bible verse that says, correction is grievous to a fool. Or let's get another one. It says, whoso loveth instruction loveth knowledge, but he that hateth reproof is brutish, which means dumb. It again, overcoming that discomfort of knowing, hey, you did it wrong, you messed it up again. Overcoming that emotion that when you have boy thinking or child thinking, that emotion that's attached to that, overcoming, once you overcome that, you're able to actually look at it constructively and be like, okay, what do I need to put in place? Okay, let me try it like this. Let me see if this will begin to get it to stick. Whether it's a spiritual growth or development, or whether it's something in the physical, out in the world, that you keep messing up. Okay, what do I need to do? I had a thing. Check this out. I'm gonna be transparent with y'all on this. I have this task that I've made a commitment to do daily. Okay, that I don't like doing, and I said, okay, I'm gonna do this daily. And then next thing you know, 2 or 3 days it went by and I hadn't done it, and I was like, crap. So then, I'm always trying new stuff. I was like, I got to figure out a way to do this thing. So I woke up real early one morning, came down at 4, and I did that task for like an hour and a half straight. No problem. I was like, I got it. I'm going to integrate this into my morning routine. And it was actually peaceful and relaxing doing it. Doing the little task. Instead of just making excuses, ignoring it, whatever. Y'all, that's how it is with failure on anything. There's gonna be a way. You gotta understand, hey, I'm gonna keep trying different stuff till I get this. But this is spiritual, though. We have to implement this spiritually. Because I watch a lot of people. I've seen this in myself. I did it all the way up to the age of 26. I I I turned a blind shoulder and just, whatever you want to call, avoided facing the reality about myself. All the way up to 26. And at the age of 26, I said, you know what? I'm going to just level with myself. You know why I did that? Because I knew it was a crossroads. I was like, if I stay going this route, I'm not going to have the things I want to have. I'm end up being depressed or stressed or whatever. And I was like, I'm facing this thing head on. I'm going to face my failures. I'm going to level with myself. And it was the most awkward, uncomfortable, strangest, just icky thing to come to the realization that, hey, I'm failing. I've shoved this area of my life in the darkness and not faced it for like 26 years. And now I'm pulling that shit out and I'm facing it head on like these soldiers behind me. You see what I'm saying? This is why it's called spiritual combat. Because like everything, this dealing with yourself spiritually is like, it ties in so many different ways to being a soldier, being a warrior out there. I had a good conversation with my brother Gideon, good brother. We had an awesome conversation. I'm gonna be bringing him on this show soon. Cause he gets this stuff on a deep level. He's been out there. He's functioned high level like that. But there's just so many things from a combat perspective that tie directly into the spiritual, and it's even in the word. It's even in the book. But we have to, it's so critical. You're not going to grow unless you develop a healthy, righteous, masculine, or feminine relationship with failure. And you don't have time. You don't want to waste a good failure. You don't want to waste. There's so much to learn there. So what we're going to do, let me get myself positioned here. Let's see. I'll get over this way. Let me see if I could get this up here. I don't know what this thing gonna look like. Nope. It still got my old scene. I'm gonna have to switch my scene from my other show. So y'all bear with me on this. There we go. Nope, not that. I guess it ain't gonna happen. But what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just read them. I'm gonna read these Bible verses, and we're gonna go over this, okay? What we've been talking about. I wrote here, understanding what it takes to actually grow. Okay? And this is something this is why I try to read Joshua, book of Joshua to y'all all the time. I try to go through that and read Joshua to you, where the Most High is telling them, hey, I gave you this blessing. I gave you this thing. I gave you all this land, but you're going to have to be strong and very courageous. You see what I'm saying? Like the shirt says, you're going to have to endure hardness. He told them. And a lot of people, man, I can't tell you the number of times I'm dealing with people. And I find myself in I guess intense conversation with them, or I ain't gonna say intense, but serious conversation with them. And I know I was like, man, you've been praying about this. You've been seeking the Father about this, and here it is. But I can't tell you the number of times I watch people just have mechanisms, these like childhood set up mechanisms to uh, and they resort to their unhealthy relationship with failure. They don't just, you know, like Sirach Ecclesiasticus says, they they're not able to take it patiently when they're reduced to a lower state. You know, you can read that whole thing. This is what it's about. And the thing is, what I wrote here, understanding what it takes to actually grow and develop, it takes a ton of time, energy, effort to grow and develop, and it also takes a ton of consistency. Some things will happen quick, but I'm telling you, this is a lifestyle. You know, having a healthy relationship with failure is a lifestyle. Okay. Um, so you have to be efficient and effective in dealing with it. Now let's see what the word says on this. Okay. It's even, I would even move to say it's an identity, having a healthy relationship with it. Okay. It says, whoso loveth instruction loveth knowledge. Oh, I know how I could get this up here. Hold on. Display capture. Huh. Okay. Yeah, hold on. I could get this up here for y'all so y'all can read along with me. All right. Let's see. Okay. All right. Let's see if it. Nope. Ain't working. We just struggling today. That's weird that don't work. All right. I'm going to get the display up there for y'all so y'all could see it. There we go. And I'm going to scoot on over here so y'all can still see me. But let me make this bigger. Okay. Go full screen and we'll make it a little bigger. There. Where I got y'all. So we're going to read through these Bible verses, okay, so that you can see what I'm saying is biblical. And I talk about this all the time. Yeah, I talk about this all the time. And y'all bear with me. There we go. Trying to make it perfect. Okay, I talk about this all the time. Okay, I talk about this from different aspects, but I tie it in. This is what it's all about, y'all. This is where when y'all hear me say everybody want to be spiritual, everybody's spiritual until it's time to be spiritual. This is what I'm talking about. People's unhealthy relationship when it comes to failure. What do? Are you actually, do you have a healthy relationship with it? Because you are not going to grow, you're not going to develop in life unless you are able to learn from these failures, to receive correction. Failures. That's where you see light. Like, check this verse out. It says, "Whoso loveth instruction loveth knowledge, but he that hateth reproof is brutish." That's not just from people. That reproof is not just from people. That reproof is from life. Life will reprove you too. Life will correct you too. But if you have an unhealthy relationship with family, look, people reproving you and correcting you only comes in later on when it just starts getting real bad and it's real obvious. Because you understand what I'm saying? So check this out. It says Proverbs chapter 12, verse 1. "Whoso loveth instruction loveth knowledge, but he that hateth reproof is brutish," is stupid. Okay? Proverbs 15:32. "He that refuseth instruction despiseth his own soul, but he that heareth reproof getteth understanding." And listen, y'all, there is a myriad, a ton of ways people refuse instruction. Okay? The way you're going to know the people who refuse instruction, some people, the people who really wrestle with it, you'll literally hear it in their speech. They're sitting there, saying stuff, twisting stuff, you name it. Other people will act like they receive it, but you don't see it implemented, And then you have people who take the reproof righteously. They're in agreement with you. They're like, there's a brother here. He started out in this assembly maybe, like I said, earlier this year. And he was getting a ton of reproof and correction. Okay? And he sounded good because people talk a good game. People will talk a good game, y'all. They'll have you thinking they just came down from heaven to come talk to you. So people talk a good game, but then you will know them by their fruit. You just look and see, and it tells you everything. But we had a brother, yeah, he wanted, he had a healthy relationship with failure. He took the correction. He was looking in his life to see, you can hear it in the speech. And then you have people who operate with the religious spirit, and it's a night and day difference. They're walking around trying to look the part. Trying to look righteous. You never hear them confess to messing up, or there's never in there. It's always a righteous appearance and look. It's night and day. It's blatantly obvious to those who are serious about book. You grow up. A lot of us grew up in churches filled with people full of righteous spirit. When I went into the Hebrew Israelite, I went from Christianity and then got into the Hebrew Israelite thing. That junk went to another level of deception. That righteous spirit where dudes was like, man, like I said, while I was out there in Hebrew-dom out there, all over that Hebrew Israelite community out there, a lot of y'all see it out there on YouTube. I've been out there among them people, met majority of them. And I ran into some people that knew that book better than anybody I have met to date. I mean, they were on a whole nother level. But guess what? It was all a religious spirit. They had an unhealthy relationship with true spiritual growth and development. And that's that journey inwards, looking within. The people who are on the journey inwards, I connect well with. Because you get it. You you see. You know what I'm saying? You see that it's just, people with that religious spirit, man. Eesh, you know, we have to develop a healthy relationship with failure. That's how you're going to work your salvation out, with fear and trembling. Okay. He that refuseth instruction despises his own soul. If you've been through trauma at young ages and stuff like that, you can, it's like an arm that heals, like you get a scab on your arm and it heals unhealthy and it's infected. That's what it's like, and you can't touch it. Like it hurts when someone touches, so you're gonna protect it because it's sore, it's infected, and stuff is oozing out of it. It needs to be treated and cared for, but it's been neglected for so long. It's very sore, it's damaged, and work's have to be done to save that arm, to save that thing. So people come up with mechanisms to protect themselves. And like I said, you could do stuff for so long, you're not even aware you're doing it. I'm telling you, at the age of 26, one of the major things I learned is I had to become aware of stuff that I was doing to self-sabotage myself that wasn't even in my plane of awareness. That stuff was so deep operating in me. Different spirits, different mindsets. I wasn't even aware of it. Now I would see reactions, people's reactions and stuff like that, and I slowly, through looking within and paying attention, bringing thoughts into captivity, into the obedience of Christ, through doing that process with consistency, paying attention to thoughts, feelings, and emotions, not paying attention to everybody else, but looking within at me, I began to unpack it and see things in ways I was operating in. And y'all, you can't get discouraged. Like, it don't happen. A lot of stuff don't happen overnight. Most High will help you. He's there. Praying to him. Righteous prayers. You know what I mean? Alright. But if you despise your soul, you're not going to receive that reproof. The reproof life gives you, the reproof brothers and sisters give you, you name it. People around you. But eventually, I developed a healthy relationship where, hey, I came to realization, hey, I ain't who I thought I was. I'm not who I try to present myself, the facade I try to present myself as. You know, up to the age of 26, I was a lot shyer and insecure of myself. You know, once I developed a true relationship with myself, with failure and all that stuff, I'm like, damn, I fucked up. And I acknowledged that and came in peace with it, and that allowed me to begin dealing with it and not rejecting it. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. Y'all put a 100 in the comments if that makes sense. If you understand where I'm coming from. I'm trying to explain that. Okay. So he that refuseth instruction despiseth his own soul, but he that hearkeneth reproof getteth understanding. The only way you're going to understand is through reproof, correction, because you're not perfect. Proverbs 19:20. Hear counsel and receive instruction, that thou mayest be wise in thy latter end. Okay? It says, hear counsel and receive instruction, that thou mayest be wise in thy latter end. Okay? When you get older. Okay? Proverbs chapter 10, verse 17. He is in the way of life that keepeth instruction, but he that refuses reproof erreth. And again, how can you refuse reproof? What does that look like? We're gonna break that down here in a little bit. But like I said, there's a ton of ways you can do it. So I'm not gonna go through all that, because there's only one way to receive the reproof, okay? And that's to receive it and analyze the correction or the reproof or what's being said, and really look at it and look within and put the work in. There's always something there. Hebrews chapter 12, verse 11. Now, no chastening for the present seemeth to be joyous, but grievous. Nevertheless, afterward it yieldeth the peaceful fruit of righteousness unto them which are exercised thereby. So true righteousness, not righteous appearance and I want to look righteous, but true righteousness is developed and yielded by chastening. It says it right there. Okay? It is yielded through chastening. I quoted this one, or I said this one earlier, Proverbs chapter 15, verse 10. Correction is grievous unto him that forsaketh the way, and he that hateth reproof shall die. So it's letting you know you can hate correction. You can hate reproof. These are those people that literally as soon as you're coming out, you're trying to direct them on something. While you're doing it, they're coming back at you with something else. It's a literal, you can feel it. Listen, y'all, this is the heavy, this is meat part. When that reproof is going forth and you can feel something in you, it's that, and that's causing you to, so somebody's correcting you and you feel something in you, like a tension, a stress in you, and you can feel that, and then you're trying, what you're focused on is shutting down what they're saying or coming back with something at them. Literally, you're looking the wrong way. You want to know how I know that? Because I've done it. Heavy, you know? And where the peace is at, where the proper direction to go is, when you're feeling that welling up, while you're getting reproved or corrected or something's happening, it might be something that happened in life that brings that up in you. That's what you need to be focusing on. Not the external thing that stimulated that and trying to fight that. You need to be looking within and paying attention to bringing these thoughts, feelings, and emotions into the obedience of Christ, in the captivity. That's what you need to be looking at. And y'all, this is the essence of what I'm talking about, when everybody's spiritual until it's time to be spiritual. Then they're not spiritual. And I tell people, this is the main thing. Is what I just said. And we got to make sure we keeping the main thing. Because that's the main thing. You know what I mean? This is the essence of it. This is where growth and development happens at. Y'all, you think I'm playing? I'm a book it. I'm a book it up here probably in about 5 minutes. I'm going to show y'all this in the book. I'm going to show you this. Okay? All right, let's see. Let me see. Okay. Proverbs chapter 15, verse 10. So we read that. A scorner loveth not one that reproveth him, neither will he go unto the wise. Okay? So some people, you can discern it in them. They take offense when you correct them. And I've had people, man, try to correct them. They are done with you. You don't hear nothing from them no more. They're through. That's it. To which I say, hallelujah. Because you wanna know those who labor among you. You wanna try that gold, see if they gold or if they the dross that comes off, the waste that comes off the gold. And you want to separate from that. Because you keep those type of people around, it's gonna be miserable. They're gonna pull you down. Proverbs 29:1. He that being often reproveth hardness his neck shall suddenly be destroyed, and that without remedy. Y'all, we actually witnessed this happen in this assembly with an individual. It's not for the faint of heart. Proverbs chapter 5 verse 12. And say, how have I hated instruction, and my heart despised reproof. I'm telling you. That was me, man. For years. Like, I learned a lot in the military. I really developed my mechanical skills, all that stuff like that, pushed myself, but I struggled with correction for most of my military career until the Most High dealt with me towards the end of it. And it was like as soon as I learned that lesson, he got me out of the military, got me on another job, and I thrived on that job with what I had learned. I had favor on that job. Proverbs chapter 5 verse 12. And say, well, we just read that. Ecclesiastes. It is better to hear the rebuke of the wise than for a man to hear the song of fools. Okay? Ecclesiastes 7:6. For as the crackling of thorns under a pot, so is the laughter of the fool. This also is vanity. So you want to be surround yourself with people who are going to correct you and are righteous examples. Facing your Goliath. This is something I talk about to the saints here in this assembly. I talk about them facing their Goliath. Yeah. One of the things I tell them is, inevitably, you're gonna have your Goliath moment. You're gonna find something deeply rooted in you that you are gonna have to deal with, and I've seen it many times where people have to face their Goliath, and you see who you dealing with when it's time for people to face their Goliath. If they're willing to fight it, they go with it. If they're not, they're done. They moving on. Like I've seen them. It's like they just not gonna do it, and it's because they have a unrighteous, childlike relationship with failure. It goes right back to what we talk about in the title of this thing. So check this out. 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 18. And this goes back to what I'm talking about, where all this stuff makes sense, and this stuff comes together when you learn to observe those thoughts, feelings, emotions, and impulses that well up in you. Okay? Um, 1 Peter chapter 2, starting at verse 18. Servants, be subject to your masters with all fear, not only to the good and gentle, but also to the froward. So to the difficult. Okay? For this is thankworthy if a man for conscience towards God endure grief, suffering, listen, not suffering righteously, rightfully, but suffering wrongfully. So it's talking about somebody was wrongly accused. And it says, for it's thankworthy towards the Most High. It's saying, and what he's saying is, it's saying a lot about your spiritual makeup and your humility when you can endure grief when you're wrongfully accused. And listen what it says. It says, for what glory is it if when you're buffeted for your faults, you shall take it patiently? That's not glorious. You need to, that's standard. You need to be doing that. That's what it's telling you. But if when you do well and suffer for it, you take it patiently, this is acceptable with Yah. Okay? For even hereunto were ye called, because Christ also suffered for us, leaving us an example that ye should follow his steps. So Christ did this for our wicked asses. You understand what I'm saying? And what it comes down to, if you really have humility, you know how jacked up you are. You know how wicked you are. So that right there off jump has you introspecting, looking within, to where correction, you're so busy working on yourself, correcting yourself, when external correction comes, it's just frosting on top of the cake. It's gravy on the potatoes. It's ketchup on the French fries. You know what I mean? So this is, it's blatantly obvious to people who are internally focused, looking within, and the people who are externally focused, looking without. It becomes painfully obvious. Okay? For even hereunto were ye called, because Christ also suffered for us, leaving us an example that ye should follow his steps. He did no sin, neither was guile found in his mouth. Guile is manipulative speech. Deceptive, manipulative, cunning speech. Okay? And it was not found in his mouth. It's found in ours. That's one of the that's some people's mechanism for avoiding that's how they have an unhealthy relationship with failure. Who when he was reviled not again. When he suffered, he threatened not, but committed himself to him that judgeth righteously. He said, Most High got it. Most High got it. And again, I can't tell you, man, the number of times I see people face their Goliath. They face that thing in them that they need to deal with. It's brought to their attention. And instead of fighting the Goliath, they go fight the one that's in their army. That's telling them, yeah, you got to fight that Goliath. Instead of fighting the Goliath, the enemy, they fight their brother. The one trying to help them and equip them and explain to them how to take that Goliath down. They lean to their own understanding with it. They lean to that fear, and they stay up on that hill like all Israel did except King David. Okay? I wrote, it is not anyone's responsibility to work your salvation out with fear and trembling. Okay? That's heavy. And that's a big one. No, at the end of the day, you work your salvation out with fear and trembling. What I've learned is, I've learned that. I don't. You should like. You don't want to waste your time. Like I be saying, pushing a wet noodle. you know, as brothers and sisters, we're here to help and assist, but we're not here to work people's salvation out for them. You know what I mean? And you can work your salvation out with fear and trembling. You don't even need your brothers and sisters to that degree. You know what I mean? But I'll cover that in another show. Let's see what y'all are talking about in the comments here. Let's see, y'all saying a lot here. Oh, brother Gideon is up in there. So brother Gideon said the military definitely pushed me like a father, made me not accept failure, and when I did fail, recover, do better quickly. Man, that's good. Let me take this down. Whoops. Yeah, hold on. Try to take this thing down. Oops. There we go. Okay. Yeah, he said he said he learned to recover quickly. So he's sitting there telling you he had a healthy relation. He developed a healthy relationship with failure. He also put a scripture in there. Psalms chapter 37, verse 23 through 24. If y'all can somebody get that for me in the Amplified and put it in the comments so we can read that? Somebody wrote, I really needed to hear this blessings, family. All right. I'm glad. I like the term delay success, not failure. That's good. So that's what I think what Gideon's saying there is that's what he calls failure, delayed success. Okay, and again, a lot of people, man, failure for me are lessons. It's like, okay, I messed up. All right, what can I learn from this? A lot of people, they have an unhealthy relationship. Failure is something to be avoided. That's a lot of people's mindset by any means. Act like it didn't happen. Just forget about it. Just think on something instead of getting in it, dissecting it, learning it. Learning from it. Failing forward, like they say. Shabbat Shalom, Brother Michael Israel. All praise to the Most High Yah for your labor in Jesus Yeshua name, that the truth comes forth and brings enlightenment to us all. All right. Okay. Brother D Love, he put, my sayings to my son is LGG, which is learning from failure, grow from failure, and go on from failure. Okay, I like that. Hallelujah, glory to the King. That's good. That's good. And I like what he's doing. He's helping his son to develop a healthy relationship with failure at an early age. Letting him know, hey, you're going to fail. It's something that happens. You got to be ready to fail, but you got to be ready to learn from it. I needed this lesson and will have to make a daily playlist. Okay. All right. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Brother Gideon said, funny, mankind always wants to explore the outer space of others, but not the deep oceans of within. Man. Hey, y'all put a 100 up in there if that don't hit hard. Okay? That's on it. Somebody wrote, love this teaching, looking within. Yep. That's what it's about, y'all. I'm telling you. Yes, sir, indeed, Brother Michael Israel. All right. All right, let's see if we got the verse posted in there. If y'all post Bible verses in here, you got to post the text too, so I don't have to go look it up. All right. Let's see. Somebody said Shabbat Shalom to me. Hallelujah. Somebody said it's fire. All right. Thank you, sis. She wrote Psalms chapter 37, verse 23. The steps of a good man are directed and established by the Lord when he delights in his way, and he busieth himself with his every step. Woo! That's good. Hallelujah. That's good. And we're gonna read verse 24. Though he falls, he shall not be utterly cast down, for the Lord grasps his hand in support and upholds him. Okay? You're going to fail forward. You man, develop a healthy relationship with failure. Okay? All right. Somebody said the steps. Okay, they posted in there again. Okay. The steps of the good and righteous man are directed and established by the Lord, and he delights in his way and blesses his path. Okay? That's good, man. Very good. So, y'all, with that, we're going to wrap this lesson up. I want to say shalom to y'all. I am Michael Israel. You're watching Spiritual Combat. And with that said, shalom, shalom.